All right, everybody, welcome. This is Buddhist Neigong with Rinsen. I guess that's what this is. That's our title that we've been going with, and why not? We'll keep it. And this is January 25th. This is the 15th class, which is astonishing. Time goes by and it's amazing. But this has been a very productive series, I think. And today, the big plan is to actually introduce the Bodhidharma Mo Wai Dan set, which I'm really excited about. This was initially what I just wanted to do, but pretty much everything up to now has been in preparation to be able to do what we're going to look at today. So today I'd like to introduce the set and the series, maybe a little bit about the history of it, and then maybe go through its functioning and how to work with it and why, and then show the forms, and we can all have that kind of experience. But before I do, last week we introduced the grand circulation, and the week prior we introduced the small circulation, wherein we talked about how important it is to have qi circulating throughout the body. Okay. And there are two main functions for that. Once you know five gates breathing, once you know pulsing, once you've got grounded, rooted, centered, and you can disperse, difficulties in the body, all those things that we talked about in the standing posture, then what we've got to get going here is this conscious circulation of qi in the system. And you'll see how that ties directly into the next step. But before we take the next step, someone foolishly raised their hand and said they had something they wanted to ask. So let's see about that. Sohan, I think that was you. And you got to unmute there, brother. I can't hear you, Sohan.
Okay.
There we go.
When you do the grand circulation, and after you've done grounding and scanned, and during the grand circulation, you reach some blockage happens, like some pain or some tightness. Do you address it with dispersing, like when you're doing the scan? And then if you do that, how do you pick up where you've left off?
Yeah, it's intuitive. Okay. It's a little bit like if you're kind of stretching and you feel a little kind of a weirdness here, maybe you want to rub it, maybe you want to move your chin this way and your arm that way, maybe some rotations. There's a lot of different ways to kind of address a stuck feeling in the circulation. But the first thing is to appreciate that if you can actually sense a blockage in the circulation of your chi in the grand circulation, you are winning. That's awesome, because that means you're really getting more sensitive to the functioning of your body, which is just gold. Okay, that's great. So that's first thing, right? To be able to sense it is kind of a victory. Two basic responses. One, I would say that before you do grand circulation or small circulation, you want to have done the standing posture and the grounding pretty thoroughly. Okay. That doesn't mean it has to take a lifetime to do. Once you know how to do it, you can do it really quickly, actually, very, very fast. But you want to have kind of scanned through and done this. So theoretically, if you've done that well, then you will have found the channels are ready to be circulated. Realistically, though, you ground, you think you're good, you start to circulate the chi through the small orbit, let's say, and you feel this spot in the spine where you just have no sensation. It just goes blank, right? So again, that's success. If you're in touch with the fact that you're not in touch with that part of your body, that is improvement. Okay. When you don't even know that you're not in touch with the part of your body, that's much more problematic. So you have two choices. You can either go back to the just grounding and centering and dispersing practices that we did, or you can just very, very slowly do the circulation. So in other words, if I've got, let's say, a blank spot in my back, I don't know, say this is my back and I've got a blank spot here. Okay. So I'm going to like pull the chi through the tailbone and come up the back. And then I get to that spot where my sensitivity of the chi gets dull. I'm going to slow way the hell down and go very, very micro slow. You know what I mean? Like, you remember that movie, The Matrix, when the
Yeah.
bad guy shoots at him and he goes, and it gets really slow. You go like that. You just have your mind go really, like really teeny tiny, small, slow. And you very, very gently and with a lot of patience, you just very slowly kind of drag your awareness up that point. And then when you start to contact it again, you can go back up to normal speed. And what you're doing is it's almost like making a groove. Okay. You know, it's like if you have, oh, I don't know, like in the Mayan tradition, they used to say that the brain was clay, and that when you had a thought, a little drip of water hit the top of your skull, and the water kind of dripped down. And every time the water did that, it made a groove. And apparently, by the way, the Mayans did their religious rituals. They got lots of chance to see brains. Okay, but anyway, the idea is that you carve a groove in the brain or something like that. Well, actually, they weren't anatomically correct about the brain. It was an analogy, though, for thinking. How you think creates karmic habit energies. So think well. Okay, good enough. But that applies here. If you have this place of stuckness, you can breathe into it and like breathe into it and out of it and breathe into it and out of it to increase sensitivity in general as a first step. Then you can try to ground it as another step, but ultimately you want to be able to circulate through it. Okay. And even if you can't perfectly feel it, if you kind of go through it, you're making that groove that I'm talking about. And you will in fact train your chi to more tangibly circulate through the way that you want it to go. And that might take some time. That could be a 6-month project. You know what I'm saying? That totally could. Fortunately, we're not in any kind of weird chi race. You know, it's fine. Every little bit of every little bit of intimacy you get with your body, and every little bit of circulation you create, you've increased your longevity and compressed morbidity, which so it's pure good. You know, just keep engaging it.
Cool.
Does that help you?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. You'll surprise yourself because it is a real thing. It's not just belief. It's an actual. It's like if someone can't do a push-up, there are things you can do, and then suddenly one day they can actually pull off a push-up, and it's measurable. Like, wow, I actually did that, or a chin-up, or what have you. Right? She is like that too. Learning how to move the mind through the system and actually contact and feel it. Once you're in it, it's just as tangible as whether or not you can actually do a chin-up or not. And so one day you'll be doing it.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Great.
Was there anybody else with a question on the grand circulation? We're all good? Beautiful. Okay, thank you. That was a very helpful conversation. So on. Thank you for that. So let's discuss Bodhidharma. Let's talk about Bodhidharma, shall we? Can we talk? All right, because here's the thing about Bodhidharma. Okay, when you encounter Chan literature and therefore Zen literature, you encounter a very certain Bodhidharma. You know, the Bodhidharma who brought the Dharma up from the West, who came up to bring enlightenment. The scholars of Buddhism had connected with the culture of China, which was scholarly. There were teachings and sutras and logic and learning, but there was no actual enlightenment. There was no actual awakening, as the stories go. And so Bodhidharma, as a successor to Buddha himself, decided to come forth as an awakened, what we would say Zen master, and actually train disciples up so they could have Kensho and awakening and stuff. And that's what he did. And he got up there and sat facing the cave, famous, at the foot of Shaolin Monastery, and sat there facing the cave. And in the traditional Zen telling of the tale, he sat there for 9 years facing the wall, famously. And then finally, his disciple was drawn to the space. And after a strange encounter and a difficult exchange, the disciple was accepted and then began the training. And then, Chan happened, something like that. Well, now, if you look at the Chinese medical tradition and the Chinese qigong tradition, you hear tales of a very different Bodhidharma. Okay. Same dude, probably. Whether it's a dude or a movement, we're not actually sure, honestly. You know, it doesn't change the efficacy of the practices or the reality of the history. We think probably it was a guy, but it might have been a movement of whom Bodhidharma is a mythical expression. We don't actually know. But anyway, one of the Bodhidharmas that you encounter when you come at this from the Kung Fu world or the qigong world or the classical Chinese medical world is that, yeah, Bodhidharma was this intense Indic Aryan person who came up from India. He had Persian background and came from the Indo-Aryan culture, and therefore he brought the yogic tradition with him. He was like Shakyamuni himself, of the ruling caste and the warrior class, and therefore had access to these kinds of internal power, martial arts, all this kind of stuff. And so he came up into China, went in the cave, you know, got to Shaolin, found a bunch of scholars who were too weak to realize anything. They were intellectual and they were cognitively apt. They were very literate and very into calligraphies and stuff, but they were too weak for Zen. And so he decided, well, what am I going to do here? So he went to a cave for 9 years to work on a book. That's what he did. He was there working on a book. And so when he came out of the cave 9 years later, he said, aha, here's the books. And the books are the muscle, tendon, marrow washing, and brain cleansing treatises. And these are the basis of Chinese medical practice. Okay. And so for me, there's plenty of room for both those Bodhidharmas and a few more, I'm sure. Okay. But something important happened here. Everybody agrees. There was some kind of yogic intelligence that was brought from India into China and met with the Chinese culture in a way that was unique to the moment. Say it like that. Okay. And this connecting ended up being a very significant feature in both Zen and the Chinese medical view and the martial arts worlds as well. Okay. So let's look at a little bit about what these practices are. You can read about this. This is not hidden knowledge, but basically, if you look into Dr. Yang or other expositors of the history of qigong and neigong and stuff, you can see that there's different kinds of internal power. Okay, different kinds of qigong. Some is used for martial effect. So Aikido, my root body practice, is of that kind of lineage, amongst others. It's not the only one. And then some others use the qi for healing, like a doctor healing others. And then some qi is used for health and longevity for yourself, right? And then some qigong practice is used for the development of spiritual awakening. Okay. Now, Bodhidharma's core insight, and one of the core insights of Zen, is that there is no spiritual awakening outside of the body. The body expresses and embodies awakening and is not just a tool to encounter it, but is it itself. Okay, so this is a very big deal. And so if we just take it to be true, at least as a narrative, what history has ended up saying is that Bodhidharma found the scholar monastics at Shaolin to be physically unsound for the rigors of Zazen. Okay. So he produced the exercises, which I'm about to show you, and they're super cool. And they're actually part of the Zen tradition, and they're also part of the Aikido tradition, and they're also part of Kung Fu and Tai Chi and all of this stuff. They all kind of branch to this moment. Now, these movements are almost never taught because they're incredibly boring and no one has the patience for it. Okay. No one is going to have the patience to do this. I mean, I would love it for you all to defy this truth claim of mine, and I'm counting on you to do so. But part of the reason, like, why have I never heard of this? Because no one gives a shit about it. It's boring. When you encounter it, you're going to go like, what am I doing? I mean, it just is not sexy. It is not compelling. You can't tell what it is by looking at it. And your average person is going to look at this and say, isn't there something better on? And just keep flipping the channel. Okay. That's my view. I mean, that's not like, that's just my experience with it. Okay. People like the big flashy throws in Aikido, or they like the cool joint locks, or, some nice moving flow that you can really see and it feels good immediately, like the bagua, or the, not the bagua, the 8 brocade that we do. I mean, anybody can look at that and say, oh, that's cool. Okay. I get it. And you feel good. As soon as you make this movement, you're going to feel better. Easy, guaranteed, low-hanging fruit, and it works, and that's fine. So those moving, flowing sets are far more popular, and in fact, many folks who teach those flowing sets have no idea that these static forms even exist. But in truth, um, to take an example of Tai Chi, whether it's Wu style or Yang style or whatever, long or short form, Tai Chi is basically a collection of moving qigong movements. And the moving qigong movements, which preceded them, are a stringing together of static postures. See, and the static postures are all different versions of the one standing posture that we did to begin this course with, of which the Zazen posture itself is yet another. Okay, so the logic of it is like this. If you start with that one standing posture and kind of do a deep dive in it as we have, then all the thing we've done up to this point, you're actually in a position to appreciate and not be completely bored by what the Bodhidharma systems are. Okay, does that make sense to everybody as a general reference? Because you can find, if you search for 8 brocades on YouTube, you'll get a lot of really good stuff. You really don't need me to help you with that. There's plenty of good information out there. So it's useful. This people don't talk about much. I think they wouldn't have any students. You know. Anyway, here we are. So let's talk about it. When you put your body into a static posture, okay, everybody who has done Zazen training, you know that there's an immense amount of attention and intention put into how you structure. Okay, you don't sit like this, you sit this way. And it's not just obsessive compulsive whatever. It's actually because if you put your body in a certain posture, whether you know it or not, you have a definite effect on the body and on the mind and on the soul, so to speak. Okay, the energy flows in a very specific way when you put your body in a certain posture. Okay, so everybody who comes into Aikido, one of the very first things you learn is called a kamai, hamni, stance, the basic stance of Aikido. Okay, and people think that that's just, oh yeah, martial arts have stance and that's ours. Cool, let's do the stance. There's a lot more going on than that. Okay, when you actually have a correct Aiki Seigan, a correct stance, the energy flows through your body in a very particular way that's different from other stances. Okay, now the truth is, it's not a matter of a stance being right or wrong. It's a matter of each of these postures bring out certain qualities. They create certain flows of energy in the body, and experience is that if you tune up the body's chi in this very specific flow and sequence, that you're doing the most robust help for your health and longevity. Okay, so every way you hold your body is going to make chi a certain way, just like Zazen does, just like your Hamni does. Okay, and these stances, if understood correctly, practiced correctly, and done in the correct sequence, have a massive effect. And they do. This is my experience is that they very much do. Now, the first set is called, sometimes it's called the closed fist, the Bodhidharma closed fist. And I think that's as good a title as any. It's universally understood to be the very first set, and the one set that we know for sure that Bodhidharma actually taught. Okay, there's another set that I'll introduce later, but this closed fist set is definitely the first set. It's the foundation. Okay, the preliminary to it is the standing posture we've already been doing, and then now we move into these standing postures. Now, the thing to realize about it, the theory behind it is this first series is designed to cultivate chi inside your skin bag. Okay. This whole series is designed for you to be able to draw chi into your body and store it there like a battery. Okay. And it uses the limbs. Okay. This particular set is very arm focused, and it uses the arms as well as the rest of the body, really, but mainly the arms, as think of it like a battery. And so the basic theory of this is that you hold your body in certain postures, which I'll show you, and you do specific breathing and intention with it. And as you do that, you're bringing chi more and more and more into the certain part of the body, usually the forearms. And then what happens is, after you do a certain number of repetitions of this, you have saturated your arms, let's say, with chi. And then you go immediately to the next posture, whatever it is, and I'll show you, and you do the same process, okay? And wherever the tension is in the muscular, in the structure, that's where the chi begins to hold and be drawn to, see? And so you end up going through these series of postures, and each one it's in a very specific sequence. And when you do them in a row, what you've ended up doing is sort of this like kind of an extended grand circulation. And each posture stores chi in the body. And the end result, the whole thing, the whole wind up gets to this very big thing at the very end, where you finish all of these postures with breathing and intention, like I'll show you. And then you just go back and stand in the basic standing posture that we started. And the chi itself will circulate in your body and go where it's needed most. Okay. So the theory is you hold the body in certain ways with intention and breath. You draw in chi inside your body. You go through the postures in a specific sequence, meaningfully organized, always the same, never varies. And at the end of the sequence, you stand in the open posture, and that chi that you've stored will go through and circulate into your own body and just do good stuff. See, that's what it does. See. So as a theory of organization, does that make sense to everybody? Okay, awesome. So up to this point, we've simply brought awareness to the body. We've paid attention to the structure and how gravity rolls through the system, and we brought attention to blockages, and we're trying to get everything to flow. We're pulsing, circulating chi. Now we're actually going to cultivate chi. Okay, so the first Bodhidharma set, it's a closed fist chi cultivation. That's what it is. We're cultivating and nourishing the chi. Okay, so, okay, here we go. For this, you must stand. Okay. Okay. Okay, so now comes the boring part. Okay, so hopefully you can see me. Well, you know what? I'll take this off so you can see me a little bit better. Let's see here. Okay, there we are. All right, so, okay, so here's the deal. We've started in a standing posture, like so, hands down, okay? And I'm not going to take time now to do it, because if we did a guided thing with this, that's all we would do today. Now, what you're going to do after you've done everything we've done up to this point in the class, inscrutably and almost imperceptibly, but definitively, you must take your hands from this and turn them up, okay? Sort of like when Iron Man is going to launch, he puts his palms like this and pushes up like that. Your hands are palm facing down, okay? And they're right down by your sides. So your arms are a little bit bent. They're not, what is that? They're not jutted all the way forward. There's a little bend in the elbow, okay? And what you're going to do here is you're going to breathe in. And when you breathe in, you just draw all the air into the body in the manner to which we've been accustomed by now. But significantly, when you exhale, you're going to push down very lightly with your hands. You're going to imagine like you're pushing down on a balloon or something. And you're going to mostly mentally imagine a bunch of resistance, like you're trying to push on something that's really, really heavy, okay? But you don't physically push very hard. You trigger the nerves as though you imagine that you are pushing on something very hard, all right, very heavy. And as you exhale, you'll feel the tension in the wrist, okay? There are all kinds of meridian points right along here that we don't have time to get into, but the wrists, okay, and the palms of the hands, that's where right now you're going to cultivate the chi. So as you breathe in, draw in through the 5 gates, feet, arms, ba hui point, central channel, side channels, 1 point, draw it all in. For this, I would use a contractive inhale. And then as you exhale, lightly, everything goes into your arms and pushes down just a touch. And breathe in. Everything draws in a little bit. And then exhale, you're pushing down with the palms. Okay. And in. Again, contractive inhale and exhale. Now, one distinction about this is that when you push down with your mind, and a little bit physically in the beginning is okay, you have the feeling that all the chi comes into the arm and pools there, okay? You don't send it out. It stops here and it pools in the arm, mostly in the wrist. This is very significant. You're not coming here and sending it out into the environment. It's stopping at your palms. Remember, this is now a chi cultivation battery, okay? And you're going to store it there. So I'm going to breathe in and out. Imagine you're pushing down, right? Your knees open, your spine opens, but really you're putting all the chi down your forearms and it's stopping at your wrists. And it stays there while you breathe in more. Gather chi from the heavens, from the earth, from your environment, front and back. Draw it to the 1 point. Exhale, bring it up through the channels, down the arms, down the elbows to the wrists, and it stays there. Now you've got double the amount of chi pooling in your wrists, and you just keep it there. And then you breathe in again. And you can see every time you do this, you imagine that you're just, it's like water kind of running down your arms and pooling there, like water rushing up against this massive dam, okay? And the pressure gets very intense. The chi is pooling there. Again, draw in. Bring that chi down the arm, send it all the way down, and it pools there, okay? This is the essential practice that you'll be doing through all the different 12 Bodhidharma static forms. It's the process of drawing in chi, alchemically transmuting. You don't have to worry about that. Just bring it up through the arms, send it down, and it pools here, okay? Now, traditionally, the guidance is to do this about 50 times, all right? And if you do that, if you're actually crazy enough to do that, you will end up definitely feeling some power starting to accrue, okay? Now, a caution, all right? If you start to do this and you start to feel faint, if your heart starts to beat too fast, if you start to like feel like your blood pressure gets too much or too low, or just anything feels wonky, just chill, okay? If that happens, let me just show you this real quick. If you start to feel wonky or anything, then just open your stance a little bit more and go into a nice, gentle kind of rotation motion like this. Okay, and it's not a problem. What you're doing is you're letting it disperse and you're getting a little movement in the system. Okay, now while I'm doing this, I'm just turning this side and this side. Mostly the femurs are rotating. Okay, and this is what you do if you feel like you start to lose it or it's too much. The energy is too much. And you just let your hands go like this. But really, you build up a tolerance for this so that you end up being able to sit here for 50 breaths and just pool the chi in the palms and in the wrists, okay? Now, that's the first posture, okay? Now, it's a noble practice, and it is a sufficient practice to do that one posture, okay? In fact, it might be wise to say that's what we'll do this week. I'll show you some more postures, but if you just did this one posture and you did that for 50 repetitions and you really gave yourself the gift of paying enough attention to tune into what's here, you will have done an amazingly awesome thing for yourself. Okay. Now, let's just say we're going to do that one posture. Let's say we're at our 50th repetition of it. Okay. And it does get intense. You'll notice that your arms get heavier, your wrists and hands get heavier. You will definitely notice that the temperature will increase in the area that you're concentrating on. That's normal and that's good for you. That's all fine. That just means chi is pooling there. When you get to the 50th repetition or so, then you simply let your hands go back down, and you basically feel like the chi is dammed up here, and then you let the dam go, and the water pools down and drips. Okay, and when it drips, then what it does is it circulates through the body and goes wherever it's needed most. And here you have to trust your body to do what it needs to do for itself. If your spleen meridian is too damp, it'll go there and add some heat. If your kidneys are too cold, it'll bring some heat there. If they're too hot, it'll bring some cold there. Your body itself will do the blending of yin and yang according to what you need. You don't have to have all the meridians and theory memorized for that to work. It's just going to work. Okay. And if you actually do this, you will actually be able to feel the chi move through the body. And it's fairly unpredictable at first. Like, why does the chi all go up to this area in my upper chest? Or why does the chi feel like it goes to this part of my spine? Or why does it go down to my knee? Who cares why? It's doing what it needs to do. Just get out of the way. Stay out of the way. It's not your business. Just trust your body and trust the chi. It'll go right where it needs to. Okay. Does that make sense to everybody? Are there any questions to this point? I'm not seeing that we have any. Okay. All right. So let me, I don't know. We could do two things. We could actually do that for 50 breaths and feel it, or I could just show you a bunch of other postures. Give me who wants to actually try and do a 50 rep hit and see what it feels like? I have a few takers on that. Okay, let's try that. Okay, I'm going to actually do something I love doing. I'm going to narrate through. I'll do a guided meditation. Okay, fine.
Rinsen,
Yeah.
may I ask a question?
If it's helpful.
Before you start.
Yeah.
I was wondering if there is a possibility that you get all the chi building up, and then there's something that you can do incorrectly to get the chi stuck or to get the energy stuck.
If you haven't done all the work up to this point, the answer would be yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's maybe another less humorous reason why these are so rarely taught is because if you don't have the patience to do all the work up to this point, then if you just like out of the gate, you have no references for this, and you just like suddenly realize you can cultivate chi in your arms as batteries, and you do that, and your body isn't used to grounding and isn't used to circulating, then yeah, it's going to probably get stagnant and be funny. But because we've done all the preliminaries and the pre-preliminaries, right?
Mhm.
All the circulation practices that we've been doing, your body is well in hand. It will totally take care of this and do it just fine. Okay. It's part of why I'm very loath to teach these things in a live group class, because I'm in front of a bunch of people and everybody's got radically different experience levels, and this stuff, it's just not suitable for that. You know, there's some kinesthetic disciplines that basically anybody can jump in and participate and get value, like a solid yoga class or the 8 brocades. There's a lot of things like that. This isn't like that. You actually have to have done the work to get up to this point. Okay. Any other questions before we give it a go? All right, let's try it. Let's try it. Okay. We'll do this. So get your stance together comfortably, right? Let's just do a little quick, make sure our stance is good. So close your eyes if you would, and I'll just go ahead and do a guided thing. So your eyes are closed, standing, okay, and just feel gravity go down through your structure, through the head, neck, shoulders, spine, pelvic area, femurs, knees, ankles, feet, and open the feet, open the middle of your foot, let the toes open up and let the floor come up, draw up the floor, make space in the foot, make space in the ankle joints, bring your awareness up to the knee and make space, open the knees, tuck your tailbone under a little bit, let your weight rock back and forth a little bit so that your weight is exactly in the center of your foot. Pay attention to that. Let your awareness come up through the lower part of the spine. Breathe in through the back, the lower clumps of the vertebrae, the middle back, the upper back. Just gently touch into your spine with your breath, breathing into the back and out to the back. Let your awareness sink through your clavicles, your shoulders. Let your arms get heavy, the elbows open, the hands get heavy and open, just like the feet did. Make sure that your between your thumb and your first finger is touching your leg, tiger's mouth. Bring your awareness to the base of the neck. Open the spine, open the vertebrae, the middle of the neck, the base of the skull, up through the skull and the skull plates. Open them, and you're all the way up to the center of the skull, and then above the skull. One hand's length above your skull, floating above you. Keep your awareness at that point above. You can see it as a flame, a bright light. And now, having the structure align, bring that light gently and clearly down. Any blockages in your etheric field that you feel, see them, acknowledge them, and sink them down. You contact the top of the skull. You sink into the Ba Hui point, into the midbrain, open it. Let your awareness come to the third eye, open it. Let your awareness go to the temples in your head, open them. Your eyeballs, let them open. Scan all the way through the brain, gently open it from the back and the front. Center of the brain and the brain stem, open it, open it, open it, down the face, flowing through the neck, open and grounding. Each step drops lower and lower. Let the obstructions get pulled down. Keep going down through the body. Remember, your spine is up and all the skin, the flesh, the marrow, the viscera is all hanging there. Let your scan go down through the arms. Any difficulties or blockages, let it sink, let it sink, let it sink through the elbows, down through the wrists, down through the hands. Bring your awareness to the chest, sink down through the chest, down through the throat notch, the chest, the shoulder cavities, the ribs, the internal organs. All is just getting sunk pull down, grounding, down to the pelvic floor, through all the viscera, all the intestines, finally into where the femur connects with the pelvis, down through the femurs. Everything is drawn through the femurs to the knees, down through the knees to the shins, down through the shins to the ankles, down through the ankles to the midfoot, down from the midfoot way into the bottom, below the ground. Feel how everything is sinking down and just sinking down and sinking down. Go back up to the top of your head and go down real quick. Let it all sink down like a scan. One more time at the very top and scan down quickly. Boom, everything sinks. Now a little bit of circulation. Draw the chi up the back of the heels, up the back of the leg, up the back, the mid back, the upper back, up through the top of the skull and around the front and down the face, down the chest. And then again, down both legs, down the top of the foot, and just cycle it again, bottom of the foot, and breathe up. Come up the back of the leg, knees, buttocks, spine, all the way up to the top of the head, and then exhaling down over the front brain, down the nose, down the face, down the throat, chest, stomach. You can do this at your own pace, but just make a few grand circulations. One more, breathing up the back of the legs, all the way up to the top of the head. Exhale from the top of the head, all the way down to the legs. Now, open up your fingers, open up the palms of the hand, and bring your palms so that they're parallel with the floor. Inhaling, contractive inhale. And exhale, bring all that chi through the arms to the wrists. Hold it there as you exhale. Inhale. Bring it to the 1 point, and then exhale. Let it come all the way up through the arms, sink down through the arms, and hold it at the wrist. Inhaling, draw the chi into the 1 point. Hold it for a sec. And then exhaling, send it to the wrists and the palms and gently push down with your mind. Feel each time the chi is pooling there more and more. Inhaling. Exhaling, pushing down lightly with the mind. Inhaling again. Exhaling it around and down. Each time you feel the chi pooling at your wrists and in the palms, and you feel the hands getting heavier and heavier each time. Inhaling again. Draw more chi in. Exhaling down through the arms. Let it continue to pool there. Inhaling. Exhaling. Feel each time you exhale, the chi moves down to that place quicker and has more power to it. Inhaling. Drawing chi through the legs, through the arms, through the back, through the front, into the 1 point. Exhaling. Send it down the arms and it pools again. More chi in the hands and the wrists. Inhaling. Exhaling. Relax your face. Inhaling. Exhaling. That's 10. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Any tension in the body, just breathe right through it. Inhale. Exhale. Each exhale brings more chi that adds weight and power. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. By about now, your body is figuring this out. Inhale. It becomes much easier to just send the chi down there and pool it. It's not a strain anymore. Inhale. Exhale. That's 20. Inhale. Out. In. Out. In. Out. Any tension you feel, send it to the wrists and the palms with the chi. Inhale. Out. In. Out. That's 25. In. Out. In. Out. In. Out. Now feel the chi start to back up a little bit higher than the wrist. It starts to get to the lower forearm. In. Out. I just can't take any more in the wrist, so it's starting to pile up in the lower forearms. In. Out. The fingers are full, the palm is full, the wrist is full, moving up the forearm. That's 30. In. Out. As you push down, remember your skull rises. In. Out. This is not the time to be gentle. In. Out. This is the time to be specific and clear. In. Out. With every out, the chi pours down the arms. It's pooling up. In. Out. In. Out. Be strong. In. Out. In. Out. In. Out. That's 30. Drawing in earth energy through the legs to the hara. Out. Bring it up, send it down the arms. Breathing in from the back into the hara. Out. Up and down through the arms. In from the front of the body into the hara. Out. Down to the arms. In from the shoulders to the hara. Out. Send it down through the arms to the palm and the wrist and the fingers and the forearms. In from the neck, down. In from the skull. Draw in from the skull. Set it down to the hara and then out. It comes up and over and through, down the arms. Pools there with the rest of the chi. In from the top of the head, down the central channel to the hara. Exhale. Up the side channels, down the arms. Pools in the forearms. They're heavy. In. Whole body in. Out. Down the arms. Inhaling now, you draw earth, heaven, your environment, all the chi comes in, out, down the arms. Be strong. Be focused. In. You bring in more and more chi each time you breathe. Out. Send it down the arms. That's 40. At this point, the chi is piling up to about half of the forearms. In. Out. In. Out. Be strong. In. Out. You alone stand between heaven and earth. In. Out. There's so much weight in your arms you can barely stand it, but more. In. The chi is all the way through the forearms now. Out. There's almost no place to put it, but you're doing it anyway. Send it there. Go, go, go. In. Out. 4 more. Breathe in. Out. In. Out. In. Out. Last one now. Breathe in very deeply from all the channels. In. Hold it. Blend all the chi together. And now very slowly bring it up the spine and down the arms. Out. Now feel how heavy your hands and arms are. And very gently let your fingertips go down towards the floor. Feel the chi spill down. It's very important you connect your hands to your shins, your thighs. Internally rotate. There you go. Now keep your eyes closed and just let yourself relax. And feel the chi from your forearms redistribute itself throughout your body. Just notice where it goes. Here you should have an expansive inhale. Let the belly open. Just feel where the chi is going. You might find it sloshing around different places, like ripples in a pool. You might find it going to one place and just staying there. One more breath here. Let your eyes gently open. Take a slightly wider stance and very gently rotate from side to side a little bit. Nothing too aggressive here. Just let yourself gently turn. There's a whole genre of swinging qigong, and this is the most foundational. And just feel how the chi is distributing itself through the body. Just a few more here. And come to center. You must always end any of these sets with this mudra right here. This takes all the energy of the body and aligns it and makes sure everything is correct. Just close your eyes and feel your palms. Feel the power in that contact. Feel how alive it is. How much charge and energy is in that gasho. Buddha palm. All right, have a seat. You intrepid adventurers. Okay, so I'm super curious to hear how that was for y'all. What did, if anything, what did you notice? Kaishan, please.
One of the things that I noticed as we started to get closer, as it was kind of filling and kind of creeping up the forearm, is the elbows. At first I thought, oh, the elbows are starting to ache, but then what I thought was an ache kind of like became just like it had expanded, like there was an expansive feeling, but it was holding at each point. And then the other thing was I was very surprised by the redistribution, so that when it came out, that there were areas in my body that, for lack of a better way of describing it, lit up.
Yeah.
That as that came down, a couple of places snapped on in sequence.
You mean at the very end when you just sort of let it go?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, a couple of things. One is when you're exhaling and you're kind of, in the beginning, it's okay to actually physically do this. It's like pulsing. We've talked about pulsing. Okay. It's okay to do some physicalization of the pulsing to get the sense of what it is. As you get more and more experience, it becomes more and more mental, but it's just as real. I mean, it's in fact, it's more intense than actually doing this. But what you find is when you exhale, you take the joint and put it in traction. You open it, okay? And that opening of the joint allows the chi to go through it, okay? Traction is like that, condensing, open it, open the joint. So when you exhale and you're doing this, you're standing there and you go in, everything draws, kind of like we've seen. And then when you exhale, it comes up the dual channels, comes down through here. And as it passes through the elbow should be expanding and the chi goes through it. And then, of course, in this case, it pools here. So this has an expansion and then boom, it goes through. Okay. And then, yeah, when you're done, I'm glad you had some sense of the chi actually going somewhere. And listen, if you're standing there going like, I don't feel anything, don't worry about it. You will. Just hang in, Anybody else got some feedback or whatever? You're all too bored. It's not interesting. No interest, no response. So on, you got something? All right. You're staring at me like the history of jazz class. Okay, go ahead.
I actually felt the chi go up my forearms.
Yeah.
Like,
you mean as we were progressing through the set of 50 breaths?
Yeah. Right.
It does. It's literally like a dam. You're bringing the chi here, and at first it pulls right in the wrist joint, and then it breaks through. It goes to the palm and to the fingers usually, and then it starts backing up, and it gets to here.
Yeah.
And so you can perhaps see, for martial purposes. Okay, you get really heavy arms. really like scary heavy. Like you have no idea, how can a human arm weigh that goddamn much? This is impossible, but it's not. And I've been on the receiving end of it a lot, believe me, Bill Sensei, you know, I mean, it's like there's such weight there, and it's not muscular contraction. So you can see, you know, people did this practice not intending initially for martial prowess, but actually you end up with these really heavy arms. It's like, hey, I can break stuff with this. That's cool. Or I can make the chi really strong in my hands, and my mom has a bruise, and I can put my hand over that bruise and put my intent and take that chi and send it into mom's bruise. And guess what? It heals up a little better, it seems. How about that? Right? Or for your own health and longevity, right? You build it up and then just let go and let it redistribute where it needs to. These are your basic responses. Okay. I'll just mention, but I do not want to linger on the fact that you can take the chi and do very specific things with it in the system in terms of the chakras. And that is not to be played with lightly. That takes a lot of, I have to really work with you carefully on that stuff, or someone who knows how to do this. It doesn't have to be me, but that is another thing though. You take the chi and you bring it into a chakra and hold it there and open it. If you actually have cultivated chi and you know how to do that, and you know how to bring it someplace and put it there for real, then you actually can open your chakras for true, right? A lot of people maybe think they are, and that's okay.
Sort of
So
scared of doing that.
you should be. It's not to be played with, you know, and frankly, you don't need to do that. You know, if you just sit in Zazen, automatically the chakras all do exactly what they're supposed to do without you having to fiddle with it. It's extremely effective. Okay. If you're actually doing Zazen.
Yeah.
And then if you do these simple standing practices, and at the end you just let go and let the chi goes where it needs to, believe me, if your heart chakra needs to open up, it's going to get some. Okay. If your throat chakra is blocked, it's going to get you some. You don't have to worry about it. Your body knows what to do. You really don't have to get in there and aggressively manhandle these chakras and stuff. It can be dangerous to fiddle with them, just to be honest about it. And also, as long as we're talking about chakras, you know, you can't come to enlightenment by opening your chakras. That's not actually how it works. Okay, it's a different thing. Anyway, let's press on. Sarah, I mean, do you have any experience with this? I'd like to hear from you.
My husband's asleep in the next room, so I have to move somewhere else as I'm talking. 1 second.
Sure.
He barely gets sleep, so I don't like to wake him up.
It is extremely thoughtful.
He works at UPS. Like I've done like most of the chi related things I've done in the past are with like more yogic perspective, like working with pranayama and through your breath that way. I think this way, like this is actually my first of this series of classes. I haven't had a chance to take the other ones yet. So I thought it was actually, I felt that like the chi pooling in my arms, and it felt a lot more powerful than what I've done before. That was really interesting. I actually got a little dizzy, so I had to sit down at the end.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
You know, actually, it is power. This is something this is actually an important word. It does generate power. It's a battery.
Yeah.
What we're doing is drawing in chi from the environment, from the heaven, from our current environment, and from the earth, and you blend it in your hara, and then you cycle it through and store it. So you alchemically refine it, and then you keep pushing it there. You know, it's like making whiskey or perfume or something. It's being distilled, right? And it is very powerful. Good. Yeah, Jukai, please.
I had an experience a little bit like Sarah described of getting, once I released the chi, I got like dizzy, nausea kind of. And
Yeah.
I'm not able to do the twist that you showed us.
Uh-huh.
Because
Sure.
I have other issues that gives me vertigo. And
Sure.
so I sat down and I wondered if that meant
You didn't ruin it. It's fine.
yeah,
Okay?
that's
Yeah,
wondering.
it's all good. But you know what you can also do? You can just do this.
Okay, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, as funny as this is, Ed Brown Roshi brought this. He learned this from Suzuki Roshi, as the one of the primary qigongs he likes to do, and it can get a lot, but you can just do a little, and basically all you're doing is kind of like getting it to stimulate a little bit and cycle through. You don't have to do this.
Mhm.
It's nice, but it's not necessary. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. And vertigo and dizziness, look, when you first start sitting zazen, many people here know, you'll start to have what's called makyo. Once you actually start concentrating for the first time for real, the floor will start to vibe on you. You'll start to see colors come and go. You'll swear to God you're levitating. You're not, but it'll feel like you are. And you might hear things or what have you. Okay. And a newbie, you'll think, oh God, this means something. It does. It means you're actually settling down for the first time, but it also means it's time to just let that stuff go, forget about it and just sit. Okay. And eventually, happily, as you sit more and mature, the brain doesn't need to go through this kind of ecstatic experience or whatever that is. You just sit and it's fine. So some meditational traditions will cultivate those kinds of experiences, thinking that they equate to spiritual experience and insight, but they do not. They're simply a discharge of the mind that's getting used to concentrate. Okay. So actually, you want kind of normal time, and then you can awaken from that. You don't want some kind of a spiritual orgasm thing happening, whatever that is. That's not the point. Okay. And similarly, when you do this work with chi and you first start cultivating the chi, it's intense. You are running a lot of energy through the system that, the first couple of times you do it, your body is not used to this. And so vertigo, nausea, tingling sensations in the nerves system, you can get hot. You can have all manner of interesting physiological responses to this. It's fine. Don't worry about it. You're not trying to steer into them to amplify them. You're not trying to run away from them because they're bad. It's just part of the scenery. Okay. It's just part of the scenery. You go on the trip, you're going to see the scenery, and it's like that. And what will happen is when you get experience with it, you won't have to sit there and endure the big Makyo stuff anymore. You're through that. Nice. It's like puberty. You're over it. Thank goodness. Okay. And the same thing when you start doing this chi exercise stuff, your body initially will be like, whoa, what's this? And then eventually it becomes very ordinary. And that's what you want. Okay. You want it to be just smooth and ordinary. It's just kind of like the cat kind of going like this when they walk around a little bit. It's natural. It's not this big deal. You know what I mean? But yeah, when we haven't been cycling chi, when we're stagnant, when we're a little bit not so strong and maybe kind of sedentary and maybe up in our hands and are typing all day, especially we're freaking out because they're attacking the Capitol or whatever the hell that is, that's a lot of intensity, right? So to actually get in touch with your own body and let it cycle through, this is just all good. Okay, all good. Kaishin, please. Yeah.
Roshi, there's a comment in the chat from Brenda. It said wound up with a cramp in the right calf. Bottoms of the feet are still tingling.
Yeah. So just if you actually get like a Charlie horse or a cramp or something like that, that's a good time to bow out and deal with the cramp. There's nothing in the movement that inherently causes Charlie horses. It's not like designed to make Charlie horses or something like that. Okay. It's a figment of not enough potassium or some structural malalignment or what have you. If something extreme like that happens, it's best to just gently set yourself down and kind of feel into it and let your body work its way through that. And that's fine. That's also progress, because the fact is your calf was in stress before you started. You just hadn't tipped it past that moment of proprioception where it would actually trigger and you become aware of it. So it's actually better to be aware of it because then you can release it. if that makes sense. Okay. Like, let's say like right now, your calf is just like this far away from going into a spasm because there's imbalance in the muscle, but you never go there. You see? Well, actually that's worse. You never realize that your calf is having issues, calfly trouble. See, you need to help this, right? And so when your calf actually goes, hey, wait a minute, pay attention to me, then you can work with it. You can bring your energy there and cycle through. You can massage it with your hands. You can do all the stuff you should be doing and work it out. Okay. What was the other part? Was it tingling?
Tingling in the bottoms of the feet.
Yeah, that'll happen. I don't know for sure, but it sounds to me like nervous system stuff, like nerve endings. When you actually put your attention in there, they get stimulated a little bit more than they're used to. And it's like anything else. If you haven't like done this in a while, then when you do, it's like, oh God, what's happening to me? But after you've done it for a while, it's just like normal. So it's something like that. Okay. Yeah, Barry, please.
So in the past when we've done this, we've never done like the full 50 repetitions.
Mm-hmm.
So it was nice to run through the full set and to feel that I could actually kind of work through the whole thing. But towards the end, it was interesting because I found myself a lot more rooted than I expected. So I really felt like I had extended through into the floor, though I was really emphasizing mentally sending the chi down into the hands and the arms.
Yeah.
At the end, it felt like my legs and forearms, I'm sorry, my legs and calves were like really filled with energy as well.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, like there's a really pretty good whole body workout movement called the farmer's carry. That's what they call it in the West. It's you grab a couple of kettlebells and go for a walk. All right. And what happens is if you have serious load on your arms, and they do this in China with a thing called padlocks, but it's the same thing. You just take that thing and walk. The load is in your arms, but the weight is in your structure, right? So if you're standing here doing this, you're focusing on sending it to the arms, okay? But all this chi is coming up and circulating down and coming up again and circulating down. And actually this stays. This comes up and circulates, packs more. This comes up, packs more, packs more. It starts to bleed through your whole system. So yeah, you get very rooted, This is very interesting from a martial art point of view, from an Aikido or self-defense point of view. First thing is not big flips and joint locks and punches. It's stand there for real. Like, and as Sensei can tell, if you're standing there and you're light as a feather, you got to stand there a lot more. Just shut up and stand there and root. Like if you can't be rooted, just standing there, there's no way in hell you're going to be rooted when somebody's coming at you. It just can't happen. So first things first, there is a physicalness to this. And I think if more Aikidoka knew how to be rooted, their Aikido would go through the roof. They're too busy flopping all over the place to pay attention to it. Thank you, Barry. Shokai, you had something to throw in the ring?
So how long after you release, your fingers go down?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how long do you feel the effect?
Oh boy, Shokai, I think that's going to vary. You've got the chi is pooled here, okay, through all the forearm and everything, and then you kind of let it come over and down, and you have the tiger's mouth against the thigh, okay. So you go from this where it's all piled up, and then you let it kind of pull over this way, okay. And it's very important you connect your arms to your legs when you do that. You don't go like this and have your arms in front of you. It won't work right. It'll be okay. But what you really want is to go from here to that. It's an internal rotation. Okay. The fascia along the back is spreading out, and I'm connecting my hands to my thighs. Okay. So that connects the circuit, and then it circulates. Usually what it does, it'll vary, but it'll hit the bottoms of the feet and then splash back up. That's pretty common. It depends though. Sometimes it'll just go right up to a place. But none of which answers your question, which is how long right? How long? I'm going to say you just have to trust yourself and feel. You'll get a sense of some movement, some splashing. Sometimes it's like stones in water and the ripples go around and they coalesce. Like if there's a log in the river or in the pond and you throw some rocks, the ripples will eventually kind of start interacting with that log differently than the rest of the pond. So it goes through the body, and if there's some blockage or something, it'll start to like resonate there and it might stick, or it might kind of just bounce around there, what have you. But I always get a sense like, okay, I'm good. I'm done. You know, my body tells me. And then I'll start to kind of move around a little bit. I usually do some kind of swinging something to kind of reemerge. So I don't have a definitive answer. It's not like, well, 30 seconds.
So you should like keep swinging or whatever until it dissipates.
Well, you're not trying to, actually, that's a really good point. You're not trying to dissipate. You're trying to integrate when you swing. Okay. The chi, you don't want the chi to dissipate. You want the chi to integrate. So what I'm doing is I'm cultivating the chi, and then I'm connecting it and I'm letting it circulate through the body of its own free will. Release the kraken. There it goes. Okay. And it swims to wherever it goes, and then it kind of permeates and saturates, and there's kind of a feeling of it settled down. There's a settledness that happens. I might have a light tingle or some kind of sensitivity in an area that was dull, but the sense of motion stops. Okay. And once it's stopped, then I've come back to stillness. Now, from that stillness, I want to very gently begin movement. So what I'm doing is I'm not dissipating the chi, I'm integrating it into really simple movements. Okay, so with that nourished, let's say, liver system or whatever it is, okay, I've nourished it, and then now I'm going to start to gently move and integrate that newly nourished organ system in movement. So I'm keeping that chi as I now move, okay? This whole first Bodhidharma set is about cultivating chi inside your skin bag, inside your body. You take the chi from the environment, bring it in, purify it, refine it, distill it, and then integrate it. And then you start to move and you keep what you got. You don't give it up. Okay, it becomes part of your circulation. It's something like that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's a great question. I mean, it's very important to have the right image of what you're trying to do, because that's 80% of the work. Maybe more. Great. Anybody else I haven't heard from that would like to chime in? Yoshiki, please.
And then you said to end with a strong gasho.
Yeah. Don't push, but I mean, when you've charged your hands like that and use them to connect the chi through the body, then what you want to do is reintegrate. And this, we don't have time for it now, but I'm probably going to end up having to talk at length about this, because it's not just a nice thing to do. It's not just a cool Indian oriented gesture or something. This is a very specific, it's just as specific as this or any of these motions. These mudras have incredible power. And actually, hopefully you can kind of sense it more now than before we started tonight, because when your body has got a lot of power in it and you do this, there's something going on there that is not just like, you know, it drives me nuts, you know. Of course, I'd be happy to be driven nuts by this now because I miss everybody so damn much. But, you know, I'd be in the Zendo and it'd be like time for gasho, and people are like, it's like, no. It's got to be, you know.
But that's how you formally end your little breath session.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a great it's, you know, it's funny, we take these things to be social gestures of nicety from a cool culture and we use them, but it's not really, it's a functional thing. It's functional, like brushing your teeth. It's functional. There's a functional reason why this is what you do. It's beyond the moment to explain it all, but it's a really good way. I talked about integrating. Vertical is spiritual. Okay. So when you bring both sides, yin and yang, together and you honor the vertical plane, you're taking the spiritual and making that main, and you're embodying it in yin and yang in the physical. So that'll do for now, I guess. Good question, though. All right, everybody. Cool. So I tell you what, if you're crazy enough to have enjoyed this and unique enough to find it inspiring, then hey, dig in. You know what? Do it. Just give yourself the gift of doing this. And I tell you what, now, if you do this and then do the 8 brocades, it's going to rock really hard. Okay. If you do this first, this is kind of like the preliminary. This is like the standing, the grounding, the centering, yada, yada. Okay, fine. Now you do your chi cultivation, and now take that into the 8 brocades, and it's going to be a whole new world. Because it just will. Because now you're going to actually have chi in your hands and in your arms when you do this, and your chi will start responding to you much more strongly than just moving your meat sack around like this. All right, everybody. Awesome. I'm so delighted to hang out and see everybody. Hey, Kinko, good to see you. Good to see you all. Sayaka, thank you for being here. Sarah, Soan, Jeff, Brenda, Lisa, Barry, Shokai, TJ, Jukai, Kaishin, Kelly. Thank you all. Thank you for giving a shit about this. It's great. So let's dedicate the merits. So by our practice today, may our bodies be strengthened and nourished. May our longevity be increased. May our health be extended. And may those who this very moment are in the throes of ill health, may they somehow participate in this health and this strength and this vitality. May it go where it's needed most. May it be so. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Have fun with us. We'll take it up again next week.